with the newer airplanes that are leading you.
So that waist gunner position, not only did you have the air coming from the ball turret, but you had that open window too, right?
Well, the Fs had an open window, but the Gs had a closed window.
Okay, you could open it up though to fire.
No. The gun was made to go right through it.
Okay. So was that a plexiglass window then?
Yes, it was.
And what was a typical altitude for a mission that you flew at?
Well, 6, 7, 8,000 feet. And at them altitudes, you'd get quite a lot of shots from the 88 millimeter guns. But we flew a lot of them at 30,000 feet and a little bit above. And then the 88s couldn't reach you, but the 98s could, or 105s.
The bigger guns, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you encounter a lot of flak on your missions?
Oh, yes. Out of my squadron, we flew 7 airplanes, and during my missions, they lost 7 airplanes out of that 7. And every one of them was from flak. They never did attack my squadron directly with fighters. They said the life of a fighter, a gunner, was 90 seconds in combat with fighters. So there's not many people who can talk about fighter planes.
Did your plane get hit by flak?
Oh, yes. Shot down 7 of them.
But the plane that you were flying in?
Never.
Never? Oh, you were a lucky person.
Well, they hit us with flak. They knocked out one engine a couple of different times. And one of the times they cut out the engine, it was windmilling. That means you don't change the pitch of the prop, and it makes a lot of drag. And that thing was vibrating like crazy. If it would have kept that up, either the engine would have fell out or a wing would have come off. But it smoothed out. I was all ready to jump. But, yeah.
So did you fly with the same crew the whole time that you were there?
No, I flew more than half my time with other crews because I was in the hospital and they finished up and that. So, and I had quite an experience with other crews because, if they lost a member of their crew and I'm the replacement, the next mission they're shaky as can be.
Now, when you were flying, did you fly with a bombardier, or did you drop bombs off with the lead plane for your squadron?
All different ways.
All different ways.
Yeah. We did it with the bombardiers with the Norton bomb sight. And then later on, they got a guy up there that wasn't a bombardier. They called him a toggler. And he just watched the plane ahead of him. When their bombs started dropping, he dropped the bombs. And then later on, they got what they called Mickey ships, which was radar. And the radar man was in a little cubicle in the radio room. And he would direct them when to drop bombs. Because we couldn't see the ground in the wintertime there. We couldn't see the ground and they couldn't see us, but we were dropping bombs on them and they were shooting at us.
So he had like a little radar screen that he looked at?
Yeah, he had like a television screen about that big.
So you said that you were in the hospital. What happened to you?
The first time I had yellow jaundice. That might have been from the food that you're talking about. And then later on, I got what they called aerotitis, which was sinus trouble. When you fly that thin air and everything, your sinuses, if they're clogged up, they can't clear, And
Is that also because you were breathing oxygen too? Is that?
no, it's just going to altitude, all the air gets out of your sinuses and that. And then when you come down, they're blocked up. They block up, and it can't get out. So after you're on the ground, maybe a few hours, all of a sudden it would break loose and it hurt like hell. And then that was it. But mine went for days without clearing. That's why I had to go to the hospital.
Now, you said you flew 35 missions. How long were you overseas flying?
About 9 months.
Okay. And when was your last mission? Do you remember?
April 2nd.
That was almost your birthday.
Yes. I was still a teenager when I finished my missions.
So were you in Europe when VE Day occurred?
No, I was in the middle of the ocean going home. When you finish your 35 missions, they send you home. And they were sending me home, and I was in the middle of the ocean when the war ended.
Where did you pick the ship up to go home?
Naples. And we slept in they had to get the boat carried a lot of people, so they had to get a bunch of people together. And we were in Naples in a Italian base, and the bunks were wooden, and the pillow was wood as slant. Oh.
Doesn't sound very comfortable.
No, but after a day or so, it's not bad.
What kind of a ship was it that you got?
The Mariposa. It was a cruise ship, but they had converted it to for a troop ship. The swimming pool was empty, and they put beds in there, and you turn over, you hit the guy above you because it was so. They had them 5 where I was at. It was 5 bunks above each other.
How long were you on board the ship? Do you remember roughly?
About a week. We landed in Boston.
Okay. When you got back to the States, what did you do then?
Well, they sent me to Chicago, and then they processed me to go home for a month. And then when I was done with visit my folks there, they sent me out to Hollywood, California. And there they had a processing there, and they started processing me. And you got points, and if you had, I think it was 85, they'd discharge you. And I only had 2 years in the service, but I had 4 or 5 air medals. They get 5 points for each one of them. And then the ETO ribbons, I had 8 of them. They give you 5 points for them. So I had enough points to get discharged. So from there, they sent me home.
Did they ask you if you wanted to re-enlist to go over to fight Japan?
Oh, yeah. But I didn't have nothing to do with it.
So do you remember where you were on VJ Day?
Victory and...
Oh, Japan.
Yeah, I was home. No celebration where I was at.
You see pictures.
Yeah, 2 weeks after the victory in Japan, I was already on the Detroit Fire Department.
And that's where you worked after the service then?
Yes, I worked 25 years there, retired as a lieutenant.
What year did you retire?
1971.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And did you get married after the war?
Yes, I did.
About how old were you when you got married?
24.
What was your wife's name? Well, do you have any children?
Yes, I have. I had 4. And I lost a daughter at 50.
How many boys and how many girls?
I had 2 boys and 2 girls,
And the boys' names are,
Fred and Richard.
and the girls were,
June and Shirley.
now do your children live in Michigan or are they around the country?
2 of them are in Michigan and the other one's in North Carolina.
After you retired from the fire department, what did you do?
Well, they let me go as soon as I had 25 years in because I had a bad back. And so I wasn't able to do much of anything.
Did you have any hobbies or?
Yeah, and I did restore a few. I never worked for anybody because, if you can't take off because your back's bothering you or something like that. So I restored different houses and stuff like that, remodeled kitchens.
Okay. Did you say you worked on cars too?
Yeah, that was my hobby there.
That was your hobby?
Yeah. When I finally retired a year ago, I had 16 cars.
Wow. What kind of cars?
The oldest was a World War I Liberty truck, 1917. The next one was a 1924 Graham Brothers, 1.5 ton flatbed truck. And I had a 1927 4-door sedan. And other cars too.
Where did you keep all these cars?
Well, in 1980, I got married again. I'd been divorced from the first wife. That's why I don't want to remember her name. So we bought a house. She lived in the city, and I always had to be doing something. I'm hyper, and so I talked her into buying a house out on 8 acres in Howell, and there I built 3 pole barns. That was my garages.
And that's where you stored all the cars?
Yeah.
Well, as you think back on all your experiences, do you have anything that you'd like to share with the people, the generations that are growing up now about your experiences in the war or life?
Well, I told you I flew a lot of missions with other crews. One of them that stands out is they lost their brakes on landing and they overshot the runway and they went through a drainage ditch and that knocked the tail of the airplane off. So I'm flying with them on their next mission and they're coming home, they're worried about landing. And I volunteered to go in the tail and pop my chute on landing if the brakes didn't work. Well, they made a perfect landing and everything. But they weren't going to let me go back there. That's too dangerous, boy. It's Nothing really.